What's Christmas time but a time for paying bills without money? A time for finding yourself a year older, but not an hour richer. A time for balancing your books and having every item in them presented dead against you. If I could work my will, every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled with his own pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart. I'm sure I have always thought of Christmas time, when it's come round, as a good time, a kind, forgiving, charitable, pleasant time. The only time I know of in the long calendar of the year when men and women seem by one consent to open their shut-up hearts freely and to think of people below them as if they really were fellow passengers to the grave, and not another race of creatures bound on other journeys. And therefore, though it has never put a scrap of gold or silver in my pocket, I believe that it has done me good, and will do me good. And I say, God bless it. Those two characters from Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol represent probably the two poles of experience for most people when it comes to Christmas. Maybe more than ever, in our polarized world, we need to meet somewhere in the middle instead. Or maybe even better, hold in tension some of the strong feelings about Advent and Christmas that we have and some of the feelings that they evoke. For some, however, this Christmas I know is going to be stranger and lonelier than normal. When I was living overseas once, I was reminded by a friend that the very first Advent involved leaving home and leaving family, not coming home and returning to friends. And so it was in the loneliness of that overseas Advent many years ago for our family that in order to take the chill out of the December air, so to speak, that we took a page out of something that we had experienced when we first were living in Vancouver in the early 1990s. While we were there, a wonderful playwright and actor by the name of Ron Reed used to do this thing at Regent College every year about this time, and he called it Christmas Presents. And he had an evening of story and song, of food and fellowship, an opportunity to rejoice and also relax heading into the Christmas season. We picked that up and started doing that in our flat, our little tiny flat in Lithuania. Reading stories and song, having people in, sharing food, fellowship, laughing, holy horsing around is what I called it. And we've actually continued that tradition now for 22 years. First in Lithuania, then in Eston, Saskatchewan, then again in England, and then back in Eston, and now in Moose Jaw. It's a tradition, as I said, we've been carrying on for 22 years. Last year, in fact, I mused at the end of Christmas Presents that maybe this might be the last one that we do. I wanted to maybe draw a line under it. It felt like maybe it was getting a bit too big. Well, I got significant pushback from that, and the bruising on my bottom is just starting to go away from then. So here we are. Little did we know, though, when I mused about maybe not doing another Christmas Presents, little did any of us know that we'd be in a global pandemic a year later. And here we are. So despite everything, we're going to continue the tradition, albeit in a different format this year. Instead of being in our lovely candlelit nave at St. Aidan, we're going to be in our own candlelit homes instead. And I hope you have some food and drink to accompany you for this evening as you watch wherever you are, that you've got some good food and something to drink. We've added a wonderful recipe from mulled wine on our website, written in the handwriting of our dear friend, Dr. Gisela Krieglinger, a woman who knows her wine. She grew up in a vineyard in Germany, and she's written 2 excellent books on wine herself. So we've put her recipe from mulled wine up on our website for you to use if you want. But I hope you've got something close at hand to settle into this evening on the third Sunday of Advent, Gaudete Sunday. Let us rejoice something. And you're going to hear a mix of contributions tonight because of some of the things that we can do because of this situation that we're in. So you're going to hear contributions. Some of them are going to be local, some of them not so local. Some will be musical, some will be humorous, some will be serious. Some will be poetic, some narratival, and all of it, I hope, will be heartwarming in their own ways. One thing that is unique because of this format this year is that we're able to not only have contributions from those in the Moose Jaw vicinity, but also from as far away as Corner Brook, Newfoundland, and from Cambridgeshire, England. 3 years ago, my friend Dr. Ken Jacobsen joined us on Gaudete Sunday to preach in the morning and then perform at Christmas Presents in the evening. He's a Shakespearean scholar and a professor at Grenfell College and Memorial University in Newfoundland. But tonight, he comes to us in slightly different guises. As an Italian villager, that's especially for you, Gail, as a schoolboy in a play, and as a good old boy in a spot of Christmas trouble with the local sheriff. Also, we're really delighted to have joining us tonight a friend from Cambridgeshire. As many of you know, we've been hearing the poetry of the Reverend Dr. Malcolm Guite in our parish for a number of years now. In fact, next Sunday, fourth Sunday of Advent, his 7 O antiphon sonnets are going to feature prominently in our O antiphon service. But Malcolm, if you don't know about him, is a poet and a priest residing in Cambridgeshire, England. He's a fellow of Girton College, Cambridge University, an honorary poet laureate, I think, of the Anglican Communion worldwide. And in my opinion, he's a distant relative of Bilbo Baggins. He's good friends with another one of St. Aidan's good friends, Steve Bell, and he's collaborated often with Steve and has promised when they next can tour across Canada that he'll make a stop in St. Aidan, and we can hardly wait for that. So I hope you enjoy this evening of holy horsing around with St. Aidan Anglican Church Christmas Presents Light 2020. Laugh if you can, cry if you must, but do rejoice. After all, it is Gaudete Sunday. Let us rejoice Sunday. So we bring to you Christmas presents from St. Aidan Anglican Church here in Moose Jaw, Caronport, Corner Brook, and Cambridge. So tonight, I'd like to start with a story that I don't normally read at Christmas presents, but it's a story especially for some of our younger friends in the parish. It's written by our friend Eugene Peterson, and it's called The Christmas Troll. It's a little bit longer story, but we hope that some of our younger audience will enjoy this favorite story of our children. It was Christmas Eve, and Andrew was angry, very angry. He hunched his shoulders and scowled the way angry people do in the TV cartoons. He decided to run away from home. He grabbed the hand of his little sister. "Come on, Lindsay," he said, and they headed for the woods. The woods were dark and frightening, and Andrew was forbidden to go there alone. But he had Lindsay with him, so he wasn't actually alone. Lindsay had saucer eyes and thought everything he did was wonderful. She didn't mind that Andrew was angry because she knew they were on another adventure. Andrew was nearly grown up. He was 6 years old and was always taking her on adventures. The forest started at the end of their street. There was just enough light from Andrew's lantern to show them where the trail entered the trees. Sometimes on Saturday afternoon, their parents would take them on tramps through the woods. Andrew and Lindsay would run ahead and hide behind fallen logs or big rocks and then jump out and scare their parents. Their father scared best. He would throw up his arms and yell and try to climb a tree. Then he would grab them and toss them up in the air, and they would all laugh together. But they had never been here in the dark before. The huge trees were taller and thicker than they'd ever seen them. Andrew couldn't tell whether the dark shadows were fallen trees and boulders, or crouching bears and hulking trolls. He began to get scared, but then he felt Lindsay's hand in his and became brave again. At least brave enough to go on a little farther. And then he remembered how angry he was and that he was running away from home, and that made him even braver. Besides, he wasn't sure there really were trolls in the woods. It was Jonathan who had told him about trolls. But Jonathan lied a lot. Jonathan lived next door and was a bully. He was always making up stories to try to scare Andrew. No, he wasn't at all sure about trolls. Jonathan said that trolls were ugly and mean. They had big bellies and bottoms balanced over stubby legs. Toes grew out of both ends of their feet, 6 in front and 6 in back, so if you saw their tracks in the mud or snow, you couldn't tell whether they were coming or going. And their faces were put together any which way. A troll might have a nose on each side of its head and an ear in the middle of its face, or eyes in its chin and a mouth grinning horribly out of the back of its head. But mostly, Andrew didn't believe Jonathan. And anyway, right now, he was too angry to worry over trolls. All Andrew had wanted to do was open one Christmas present from under the tree, and his mother wouldn't let him. By now, Jonathan had opened nearly all his presents. Jonathan had started begging weeks ago, and his parents always gave in. All Andrew had wanted was to open one present on Christmas Eve, just one. He knew he couldn't wait until the morning to see what he'd got. Not only had his mother refused, but when he wouldn't quit asking, she had sent him away from the supper table before he could finish his dessert, his favorite Christmas dessert of baked apple with cinnamon and honey on it. He'd then tried begging with his father. "Please, just one present. I can't wait to see what I'm getting." But he got no further with his father. "Gifts are for giving and receiving," his father had said, "not for grabbing and getting. Waiting until morning will be good for you." Christmas was ruined. He hated Christmas. He was glad to be running away. It felt good to leave. When his mother and father found out that he had run away, they would be sorry. Andrew and Lindsay were deep in the woods now. The trees were bigger than ever. The bushes and boulders blacker than ever. Andrew wondered how much farther they had to go to run away, really run away. He hoped not too much farther. He looked down at Lindsay, her hand holding tightly to his. "Do you think we ought to rest, Lindsay? Let's find a log to sit on and take a rest." He wished he had thought to bring some food, a few cookies or nuts or an apple. His mother always remembered to bring food when they tramped through the woods. He saw a log just the right size for sitting, and they sat down on it. As they sank into the soft, cushioning moss of the log, Andrew thought it was the softest log he had ever sat on, and began to feel safe and protected by the softness. Just then, there was a long, low rumble like far-off thunder, except the sound was under them. In a few moments, the thunder beneath them became a stuttering, gravelly voice. "Who's sitting on my belly?" Andrew had never been so frightened. He was sitting on a troll. He ran for his life. He forgot all about Lindsay and ran straight off the trail into the darkness. He tripped on a root, hit his head on a tree, and fell crumpled into a clump of ferns. He wanted to cry, but was afraid to make any noise. He hoped the ferns would hide him from the troll. Suddenly, he remembered Lindsay, left behind on the huge, mossy belly of the troll. What was happening to her? Now he was twice scared for Lindsay as well as himself. Would the troll by now have put Lindsay in a cage, cut off all her hair, and put a ring in her nose? That's what Jonathan said trolls did to lost children, kept them as pets the way we have dogs and cats. But Andrew was too scared to go back. After what seemed like a long, long time, Andrew heard her voice, faint and sweet, calling him through the darkness. "Drew! Drew! It's okay. The troll is ugly, but nice." Slowly and gradually the scaring left him. He crawled out of the ferns and followed her voice. This time, he didn't trip over any roots or bang into any trees. Soon he was back on the trail and saw Lindsay sitting on the troll's belly, except now the troll was not stretched out log, but a stump, a thick, round stump of troll bouncing Lindsay on his big jello soft belly and laughing in a gentle, gravelly chuckle. Before he knew it, he was there too, laughing and bouncing with Lindsay on the belly of the troll. He was ugly, all right, that troll, but not in the way Jonathan had said. All the parts of his face were in the right places. It's just that they were all the wrong size and seemed to have been put on just a little crooked. His nose came slantwise down his face, starting its descent at the edge of his left eye and ending with a flourishing swoop at the right corner of his mouth and with nose hairs sticking out of his nostrils. But really, what you saw when you looked at him was hair, for his head was thick with hair, spiky carrot-colored hair. Andrew's favorite new word these days was ridiculous. He wasn't quite sure what it meant, but he loved saying it, loved the sound of it, and said it a lot. Ridiculous, ridiculous. All at once, he knew exactly what it meant. It meant this troll, unexpected and funny. It meant something that took you from being scared to having fun in about 2 seconds. And so Andrew shouted to the troll, "This is ridiculous. You're ridiculous." The troll looked puzzled and then worried. Lindsay, who had heard Andrew say the word a lot but never knew what it meant until then, said, "It's okay, Mr. Troll. It means you're ugly, but nice." The troll tried out the new word in his growling, stuttery rumble of a voice. Ridiculous! And soon they were all saying it together. They bounced some more on the belly of the troll, laughed and bounced, chanting, "Ridiculous! Ridiculous!" When the troll laughed, his face got all crinkly like a wadded-up newspaper, the grin on his crooked old face disappearing into his chin. Suddenly, Andrew stopped bouncing and then jumped down from the troll's belly. Lindsay kept on bouncing. Andrew had just remembered that he was supposed to be angry and that he was running away from home and that Christmas was ruined because his mother hadn't let him open even one gift early. But what was this new feeling? He felt like he had hoped to feel on Christmas Eve by opening that gift under the tree, surprised and wonderful. He had just met his first troll and he was feeling fantastic. He wasn't scared and he was having fun, and Lindsay was safe. Just then, Andrew realized that the troll was a gift. Andrew hadn't expected a gift. He hadn't deserved it, yet he'd gotten it all the same, and it felt great. His father's words echoed in his ears. Gifts are for giving and receiving, not for grabbing and getting. And now he wanted to go home as fast as he could, and he wanted to show the troll to Jonathan. He wanted to show everybody a gift, a real gift, a gift you can't wrap with paper and ribbons and put under a tree. He wanted to show Jonathan that he was all wrong about trolls and all wrong about gifts. He pulled Lindsay off the troll. "Lindsay, we've got to get home fast. And Mr. Troll, you've got to come with us." They each grabbed a stubby troll finger, Andrew on his left and Lindsay on his right, and tugged. "Come on, Mr. Troll. Come home with us for Christmas," Andrew begged, but the troll wouldn't budge. "Please, Mr. Troll, I've just found out all about Christmas and gifts, and Jonathan won't believe me if he doesn't see you. He'll think I made it all up." Still the troll wouldn't budge. "Oh, please, Mr. Troll, please, if you only understood how important this is. My father says Christmas is our time to remember that God gives us gifts, that whatever he does gives gifts, gifts everywhere. Gifts here, gifts there, gifts from above, gifts from below, gifts seen, gifts unseen, and lots and lots and lots of gifts that don't look like gifts, but turn out to be the best gifts of all. But Jonathan thinks that if it's not wrapped up in a package and tied with a ribbon, it's not a gift. Jonathan needs to know about troll gifts. If he could see you and bounce on your belly and not be scared, he might learn about God's gifts. "Oh yes, Mr. Troll, please." Now it was Lindsay begging him. Usually, Lindsay just imitated Andrew, but this time she said, "If you come home with us, I'll get my mother to sing you a song of Jesus. She says that Jesus is God's very best gift. If you heard her sing, you'd know it. She sings like an angel. She'll sing songs about you too, and then Jonathan will know that you are a gift, because the best gifts are to sing about and to celebrate." For all their tugging and pleading, the troll wouldn't come with them. Trolls are shy and quiet. They don't mind being ridiculous, and they love being discovered as gifts, but they don't like being treated as someone's toy to be set aside when not being used. So Andrew and Lindsay finally gave up pulling on the troll to come home with them. They both said, "Goodbye, Christmas troll." Then they left for home. When they walked through the front door, their parents were still in the kitchen, cleaning up after supper. They hadn't even noticed that Andrew and Lindsay had been gone. Later in the evening, their mother sang songs about Jesus being born. Their father told them again that the best gifts weren't the wrapped-up ones under the tree, and so it's wise to live life expectantly, alert to the surprises of God. Andrew and Lindsay looked at each other and knew exactly what he was talking about. Had they ever been surprised? After they had been tucked into bed and blessed by their father, Lindsay lay awake for a long time in the dark, thinking about their adventure with the Christmas troll. She thought about how even though the troll wouldn't come home with them, she took with her the sense of his gentleness and laughter. "Ridiculous," she thought. Then she remembered that tomorrow was Christmas Day. She whispered, "Drew, do you think Jesus was ugly but nice?" But Andrew was fast asleep, dreaming about Jesus in a manger, surprised but pleased in his dream that Jesus had a halo of spiky carrot-colored hair. The end. So now we move from trolls to donkey as we go to the hills of Italy via Corner Brook, Newfoundland, with the story Dominic, the Dancing Donkey by Ken. This is for you, Gail.
Hey! Buona Nutella! Hey, spaghetti! Lasagna, rigatoni, Nutella! Hey! Merry Christmas! Say ya! Woohoo! Chingity-ching, hee-haw, hee-haw, it's Dominic the donkey. Chingity-ching, hee-haw, hee-haw, the Italian Christmas donkey. La-la-la, la-la-la-la-la-la-la, la-la-la, la-la-la-la-dee-da. Hey, Santa's got a little friend, his name is Dominic. The cutest little donkey, you never see him kick. When Santa visits his paisans with Dominic, he'll be, because the reindeer cannot climb the hills of Italy. Hey, chingity-ching, hee-haw, hee-haw, it's Dominic the donkey. Chingity-ching, hee-haw, hee-haw, the Italian Christmas donkey. La-la-la, la-la-la-la-la-la, la-la-la, la-la-la-la-dee-da. Hey, jingle bells around his feet and presents on the sled. Hey, look at the mayor's derby on top of Dominic's head. A pair of shoes for Louis and a dress for old Lenore. The label on the inside says they're made in Singapore. Hey, chingity-ching, hee-haw, hee-haw, it's Dominic the donkey. Chingity-ching, hee-haw, hee-haw, the Italian Christmas donkey. La-la-la, la-la-la-la-la-la, la-la-la, la-la-la-la-dee-da. Hey, children laugh, children sing, Dominic starts to dance. They talk Italian to him, he even understands. Comaras and comparas sing and dance to tarantelle. When Santa Maggiore comes to town and brings her Guite Chanel. Hey, chingity-ching, hee-haw, hee-haw, Dominic the donkey. Chingity-ching, hee-haw, hee-haw, the Italian Christmas donkey. La-la-la, la-la-la-la-la-la-la, la-la-la, la-la-la-la-la-la. Hey! Merry Christmas, St. Aidan's. Hey, forget about it.
And now we're back a little bit closer. We're going to go to Caronport to hear from our very own Poettcker family as they do a rendition of the 12 Days of Christmas.
On the 12th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 12 cubs a dancing,
11 coffins piping,
10 leaves a leaping,
9 loons canoeing,
8 mounties munching,
7 sled dogs sledding,
6 squirrels curling,
5 Stanley cups,
4 calling moose,
3 beaver tails,
2 caribou,
and a porcupine in a pine tree.
Merry Christmas!
And now we'll be going back out to Ken again, and a little bit maybe back to our own childhood memories. For those of you who are involved in nativity plays, Ken's going to do his version of Come to our nativity play.
Come to our nativity play, raggy doll asleep on the hay, itchy knickers, boogie pickers, I've got a bit to say. Oh, I'm the star, as you can tell. I'm the angel Gabriel, silver wings and halo thing and glittery tights as well. They 2 kings of Orient are Darren Jones and Dominic Barr. Barry Blue has stomach flu, he threw up in his father's car. See the shepherds watching their sheep. Amber Cardy's gone off to sleep. She made out with Nathaniel Hogg in a cupboard, and he's a creep. Oh, I'm the star, as you can tell. I'm the angel Gabriel, silver wings and halo thing, and glittery tights as well. Mary, Mary, good as can be, thinks she's always better than me, till my candle burns her sandal quite accidentally. Adam's Herod up on a chair in his robe and underwear. It's so rude, he's nearly nude, and I saw his butt, so there. Moms and grandmas sit in a row. Toddlers want to be in the show. Dads who are able stand on a table to get it on video. Oh, I'm the star, as you can tell. I'm the angel Gabriel, silver wings and halo thing, and glittery tights as well.
And now we're coming back to Moose Jaw, to the Johnson family.
I was first introduced to Taizé music by getting involved with the Holy Tuesday Taizé service years ago now. And in all those years, it really kind of crawled its way into my brain and my bones. Taizé has a way of just filling up the spaces in your life when you need to find peace where you might be experiencing some kind of turmoil. I remember this one time I was on a plane, I think flying back from Montreal one time, and we were delayed, probably by at least 45 minutes, but by the way that the passengers were responding, it seemed like we'd been there for 2 days, getting so irate and so much hollering happening that in the midst of it, rather than getting carried away by what everyone was saying, I just started to hum a little bit of Taizé music to myself, and I was astounded at how quickly it changed the whole experience for myself. When your mind is set upon hope-filled words that come straight out of Scripture. I love Taizé for that, because it allows you to be in a space of peace and quiet and prayer, pretty much no matter what is going on around you. And so as Advent was approaching this year, I was curious to see what kind of Advent Taizé music there might be. And there are some that kind of work, like Wait for the Lord and things like that. But there really isn't a lot that is genuinely focused upon Advent itself. Most of it is more Holy Week focused. And so I decided, why not create one? And so out of the text of Isaiah 40, from that familiar Comfort, Comfort My People text, I created a Taizé song I wanted to share with you. Perhaps you could make it part of your hope-filling Advent season. Comfort, comfort, comfort my people. The labor's ended, the sorrow done. Comfort, comfort, comfort my people. Take rest, take joy, for Christ is come. Comfort, comfort, comfort my people. The labor's ended, the sorrow done. Comfort, comfort, comfort my people. Take rest, take joy, for Christ is come. Comfort, comfort, comfort my people. The labor's ended, the sorrow done. Comfort, comfort, comfort my people. Take rest, take joy, for Christ is come.
Comfort my people. The labor's ended, the sorrow done. Comfort, comfort,
This song is called the Christmas song. It's a special song that a friend of my grandmother's wrote a long time ago, and it has been in my Watkins family for many Christmases. And to me, it is the sound of Christmas. Usually what happens in our big family gatherings is someone starts playing the guitar and the familiar sound comes from the living room, and we all gather together one by one. Some pick up instruments and others join their voices together, and our whole family sings together. And to me, that is one of the best gifts at Christmas. So me and Molly and Rowan and Luke would like to share that with you this Christmas, this Advent, as you prepare your hearts for the coming of Christ.
might hear him spread the word of love all around. If you lie very still just before you sleep, you might hear him sing, you might hear him weep, 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 as he spreads the word of love all around, spreads the word of love all around. 'Twas a lovely lady and a carpenter in a barn filled with sweet smelling straw, breath freezing on the winter air, the animals warm with the hand of God, the little boy come to spread the word of love all around, spread the word of love all around. If you listen close and you don't make a sound, you might hear him spread the word of love all around. If you lie very still just before you sleep, you might hear him sing, you might hear him weep, 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 as he spreads the word of love all around, spreads the word of love all around, as he spreads the word of love all around, spreads the word of love all around, as he spreads the word of love all around, spreads the word of love all around.
And now something really special. We're delighted to have Malcolm Guite offer a reading of one of his poems, and also a reading that you might just want to have a little bit of wine and cheese on hand to listen to. All right, Malcolm, take it away.
Well, hello and greetings from across the Atlantic to all of you gathered for the St. Aidan Christmas presents. I wish I could indeed be present with you at this presents, but I'm happy to join you and share some Christmas things one way or another with you. Right now, I'm relaxing a bit and I'm enjoying a particularly great combination, which is wine, red wine, claret and cheese. This is a really nice, strong red Leicester. Bit of a Christmas tradition in our household, really nice cheese. I think it's an argument for the providence of God that we live in a cosmos in which there is not only cheese but also wine, and actually there they are together, a perfect combination. Now, there's a great essay by G.K. Chesterton about Stilton, not only the cheese but the place Stilton, and it's all about how he goes to Stilton and goes into a pub and discovers that he's in Stilton and asks if he can have a piece of Stilton, and they haven't got any. And he makes that essay about how we've forgotten our roots and we don't know the best things because we're all trying to be uniform and the same, and that Stilton had lost its distinctiveness. And in the course of this essay he says, the poet have been remarkably silent about cheese. And I thought, he's right. There's not a lot of cheese poetry out there. There's loads of wine poetry. I was a bit stung by this rebuke to poets, so I decided to write an answer to G.K. Chesterton about the poets and cheese, in which I said, well, it's not that they don't write about cheese, it's that actually poetry is a kind of cheese. It's kind of like the milk of language curdled into something special. And then I compare different poets to different kinds of cheese. So perhaps you're having a nibble of cheese and a glass of wine would go well with this poem. I realised, I was looking for it in my books, I never collected this poem, it just exists in manuscript. So here for you at St Aidan is my reply to G.K. Chesterton. The poets have been silent about cheese, because whilst every subject is the message, cheese is the very medium of their work. We drink in language with our mother's milk, but poets curdle words until they bite with substance and a flavour of their own. So, Donne is sharp, and Geoffrey Hill is sour. Larkin acerbic. Tennyson has power, but only taken late at night with port. I like them all, and sample every sort, from creamy Keats with his mossed cottage trees, tasting the words themselves like cottage cheese, to Eliot, difficult in cold collations, crumbling and stuffed with other folks' quotations. Cheers. Well, of course, much as we enjoy all the frivolities and the wine and the cheese and all those very good things quite properly at Christmas, there is that deeper and most astonishing mystery. There is the reason for the season. There's the extraordinary and beautiful truth that God didn't stay stuck up in high heaven, but came down to join us, to be one of us, to be God with us. And it's his presence, his Christmas presence with us, which is the best of all Christmas presents. And I'm going to read you a poem I wrote called Descent, which makes a contrast between the kind of religion that was around when Jesus was born, the classical gods of ancient Greece and Rome, with the Olympic gods, as we call them, up there on Mount Olympus, all fine and perfect, and looking down, towering above our mortal plane. I originally wrote this as a short 3-verse poem, and I sent it to my friend Steve Bell, whom I think you know, and he liked it and started to write a song about it. But to make the song work, he needed not 3 verses, but 3 pairs of verses. And he came over to see me in England and encouraged me to write some more of the poem. And I think the poem was better because of the extra verses. So Steve turned this poem into a really beautiful song. But I'm going to read you the poem just as a Christmas poem. It's called Descent. They sought to soar into the skies, those classic gods of high renown, for lofty pride aspires to rise. But you came down. You dropped down from the mountains sheer, forsook the eagle for the dove. The other gods demanded fear, but you gave love. Where chiselled marbles seemed to freeze their abstract and perfected form, compassion brought you to your knees. Your blood was warm. They called for blood in sacrifice, and victims on their altars bled when no one else could pay the price. You died instead. They towered above our mortal plane, dismissed this restless flesh with scorn, aloof from birth and death and pain. But you were born. Born to these burdens borne by all, born with us all, astride the grave, weak to be with us when we fall, and strong to save.
And now we're back to Moose Jaw again, and we're going to have a reading from our own poet laureate, Bob Currie. Bob, take it away.
Here's a poem by Ogden Nash, which suggests that incompatibility is the spice of Christmas. Do you know Mrs. Millard Fillmore Revere? On her calendar, Christmas comes 365 times a year. Consider Mrs. Revere's Christmas spirit. No one can match it. No, not Tiny Tim or Big Bob Cratchit. Even on December 26th, it reveals no rifts. She is already compiling her list of next year's gifts. Her actions during the winter are conscientious and methodical. Now snipping an advertisement from a newspaper, now clipping a coupon from a periodical. In the spring, she is occupied with mail order catalogs from Racine and Provincetown and Richmond and Walla Walla, which offers a gallimaufry of gewgaws, gadgets, widgets, jiggers, trinkets, and baubles, postpaid for $1. Midsummer evenings find her trudging home from clearance sales, balancing parcel upon parcel with blithe spirit and weary metatarsal. Soon appear the rolls of garish paper and the spools of gaudy ribbon. And to describe the decline and fall of Mr. Revere, it would take the pen of a Gibbon. Poor Mr. Revere, such harbingers of Christmas do not brighten him. They simply frighten him. He cringes like a timid hobo when a fierce dog raises its hackles at him. Whenever he stops, ribbons wind around his ankles and paper crackles at him. The days of September, October, November are like globules of water on the forehead of a tortured prisoner dropping. Each is another day on which he has done no Christmas shopping. At this point, the devil whispers that if he puts it off until Christmas Eve, the shops will be emptier, a thought than which nothing could be temptier. But Christmas Eve finds him bedridden with a fever of nearly 99 degrees and swaddled in blankets up to his neck. So on Christmas morn, he has nothing for Mrs. Revere but a kiss and a check, which somehow works out fine because she enjoys being kissed. And the check is a great comfort when she sits down on December 26th to compile her next year's list.
So I'll introduce Night Before Christmas Trailer Park Style. And now our last story for the evening from Ken. This one's called The Night Before Christmas Trailer Park Style.
'Twas the night after Christmas, and all through the trailer, the beer had gone flat, and the pizza was staler. The tube socks hung empty, no candies or toys, and I was camped out on my old lazy boy. The kids, they weren't talking to me or my wife. The worst Christmas, they said, they had in their lives. Well, my wife couldn't argue, and neither could I. So I watched TV, and my wife, she just cried. When out in the yard, the dog started barking. I stood up and looked, and I saw Sheriff Larkin. He yelled, "Roy, I'm sworn to uphold the laws, and I got a complaint here from a feller named Claus." I said, "Claus? I don't know nobody named Claus, and you ain't taking me in without probable cause." And then the sheriff, he said, "The man was shot at last night." I said, "Well, that might have been me, just what's he look like?" The sheriff replied, "He's a jolly old feller with a big beer gut belly, that shakes when he laughs like a bowl full of jelly. He sports a long beard and a nose like a cherry." I said, "Sheriff, that sounds like my wife's sister, Sherry." "It's no time for jokes, Roy," the sheriff, he said. "The man I'm describing is dressed all in red. I'm here for the truth now. It's time to come clean. Tell me what you done. Tell me what you've seen." Well, I started to lie, and then I thought, what the hell? Wouldn't be the first time I spent New Year's in jail. I said, "Sheriff, it happened last night about 10.
and I thought my wife had been drinking again. When she walked in from work, she was white as a ghost. I thought maybe she'd seen one of them UFOs. But she said that a bunch of deer had just flown over her head and stopped on the roof of our good neighbor Red. Well, I ran outside to look, and the sight made me shudder. A freezer full of venison standing right in Red's gutter. Well, my hands were shaking as I grabbed my gun, when out of Red's chimney this feller did run. And slung on his back was his bag overflowing. I thought he'd stolen Red's stuff while old Red was out bowling. So I yelled, "Drop, fat boy, hands in the air." But he went about his business like he didn't have a care. So I popped a warning shot over his head. Well, he dropped that bag and he jumped in that sled. And as he flew off, I heard him exhort, "That's assault with intent, Roy. I see you in court."
And now changing gears just a little bit from the trailer park style to something that maybe connects with some of the blues of that evening. This one is a song sung by Heather and Chris Kayler called "All I Ever Get for Christmas is Blue."
Blue. This is Mary's Song by Luci Shaw. Blue homespun and the bend of my breast keep warm this small, hot, naked star fallen to my arms. Rest, you who have had so far to come. Now nearness satisfies the body of God sweetly. Quiet he lies, whose vigor hurled a universe. He sleeps, whose eyelids have not closed before. His breath, so slight it seems no breath at all, once ruffled the dark deeps to sprout a world. Charmed by doves' voices, the whisper of straw, he dreams, hearing no music from his other spheres. Breath, mouth, ears, eyes, he is curtailed who overflowed all skies, all years. Older than eternity, now he is new, now native to earth as I am, nailed to my poor planet. Caught that I might be free, blind in my womb to know my darkness ended. Brought to this birth for me to be newborn, and for him to see me mended, I must see him torn.
And now, keeping with the Mary theme, our own Tim Lenko is going to sing for us, Mary, Did You Know? Tim.
Mary, did you know that your baby boy would someday walk on water? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would save our sons and daughters? Did you know that your baby boy has come to make you new? This child that you've delivered will soon deliver you. Mary, did you know that your baby boy will give sight to a blind man? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would calm the storm with his hand? Did you know that your baby boy has walked where angels trod? And when you've kissed your little baby, you've kissed the face of God. The blind will see, the deaf will hear, the dead will live again. The lame will leap, the dumb will speak, the praises of the Lamb. Mary, did you know that your baby boy is Lord of all creation? Mary, did you know that your baby boy will one day rule the nations? Did you know that your baby boy was heaven's perfect lamb? This sleeping child you're holding is the great I am. Mary, did you know?
And now a song from our local songwriter and musician, Lowana Porter.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire, Jack Frost nipping at your nose, Yuletide carols being sung by a choir, and folks dressed up like Eskimos. Everybody knows a turkey and some mistletoe helps to make the season bright. Tiny tots with their eyes all aglow will find it hard to sleep tonight. They know that Santa's on his way. He's loaded lots of toys and goodies on his sleigh. And every mother's child is gonna spy to see if reindeer really know how to fly. And so I'm offering this simple phrase to kids from 1 to 92. Although it's been said many times, many ways, Merry Christmas to you.
And now two pieces by Hannah Elich, extraordinaire. We get to hear on the piano and on the guitar. Hannah.
Hi, I'm Hannah Elich, and I'm really excited to be sharing with you tonight virtually. I set up Christmas just today for this recording, so you're welcome. I hope that you're all cozy at home. If there's one thing we've learned from 2020, it's the importance of having a cozy home environment. So this is a song called The Start of Something by singer-songwriter, acclaimed Juno nominee, Moose Jaw native, Megan Nash.
Foolish to think that this must
been a part of every Christmas present since the Pinters arrived. I love this event and I look forward to it every year, and I start thinking about it at the end of summer. This marks the first year that I will be performing a guitar piece at Christmas presents. I took up the guitar in March, not thinking that I would be doing this. Anyway, maybe it's much too early in the game. Oh, but I thought I'd ask you just the same. What are you doing New Year's? New Year's Eve. Wonder whose arms will hold you good and tight when it's exactly 12 o'clock at night, welcoming in the new year, New Year's Eve. Maybe it's crazy to suppose that I would be the one you chose out of 1,000 invitations you'd receive. Oh, but in case I stand one little chance, here comes the jackpot question in advance. What are you doing New Year's? New Year's Eve. Maybe it's crazy to suppose that I would be the one you chose out of 1,000 invitations you'd receive. Oh, but in case I stand one little chance, here comes the jackpot question in advance. What are you doing New Year's? What are you doing New Year's? Oh, what are you doing New Year's? New Year's Eve. Happy Christmas, Merry New Year.
All right, we're nearing the end of our Christmas Presents 2020. And we've moved through Christmas, so to speak, in the narrative, and we're actually coming into Epiphany now. And I'd like to read a favorite story of mine called The Three Fools. It's written by a Canadian writer, Mike Mason. The three wise men, as everyone knows but tends to forget, did not visit Jesus in the manger as a baby. They found him much later, living in a shanty on the outskirts of Bethlehem when he was 2 years old. This is important. They knew they were looking for a child, and this was a matter of some awkwardness for them. They often wondered what behavior would be appropriate in the presence of a child king. They pictured themselves kneeling, presenting their gifts, and then perhaps sitting stiffly on the edge of wooden chairs and nibbling biscuits. Their conversation would mainly be with the parents, of course, while the child looked on serenely, wonderingly. With careful humility, they would avoid his large, omniscient eyes. This is not how it turned out. These men were bachelors, remember? Monkish types, contemplatives, used to sitting on their duffs and reaching after the ineffable with their noggins. What could they possibly know about the terrible twos? How surprised they were to find their little king blazing around the house in a torn toga, chattering up a storm, and leaping onto their laps to tweak their beards. Even more surprising, they found they did not react to these improprieties with horror. Instead, they felt all the stiffness draining out of them, lifetimes of reverent caution dissolving like sugar lumps in tea. They were charmed, delighted, won. Truly and deeply. In no time, they found themselves regressing, relaxing back into the childhoods they had never had. They got down on their knees all right, but it wasn't to worship. It was to give the kid camel rides, and then to roll over like great fat bears while the boy who had made the universe used their bellies for trampolines. Yes, they fell down before their king, yet not in some formal act of prostration, but bowled over like 9 pins by the thunder of a child's chortle. People who have had no childhoods are old at 40. They have lived their lives. They can see no way forward. There's nothing left for them but to go back to where they have never been. This prospect is terribly frightening. Imagine being frightened of becoming a child. It's like being frightened of ice cream. But just so did things stand with the Magi. Even the stars, which to the boy king were like so many marbles, so many toy jewels, were to these men objects of utmost seriousness. Had they not given themselves to following one of them, believing this to be the great high purpose of their lives? And where had the star gotten them? Rolling around in their sumptuous robes on the dirt floor of a hovel, that's where. Squealing like pigs, hooting till their sides fairly split, squirting out buckets of snotty tears, ripping open their fine silks and brocades so that the holy little hoodlum could blow trumpet kisses into their bare tums. Years later, they would still feel the amazing soft violence of his kiss in their navels, as if he really had found an aperture there and played them like an instrument, blown them full of brassy jubilance. "Say, little fellow, you're really full of beans, aren't you?" "You better believe I am," said his laughing eyes. "Now you open wide your mouths, your ears, your hands, and your hearts, because I'm going to fill you up with beans too." And he did. They gave him their tawdry treasures. He gave them beans. A bean for tickling, a bean for wrestling, a bean for giggling and guffawing, a bean for innocence and dance, a bean for indignity. Did the Magi know beyond doubt that they had found their king? Oh, yes, they knew. They knew it when this little guy sat astride their backs, smacked them on the rumps, and cried, "Giddy up, frankincense! Mush, myrrh! Hey-ho, gold away!" "Jesus, hun," his mother kept saying, "don't embarrass the nice men." But he was born to embarrass nice men, to embarrass them with riches. All day long, the great sages lay in the dirt, collapsed in ecstasy, slain by the spirit of an urchin. All night they lay there too, babbling in tongues, humming snatches of psalms and Mother Goose, burbling musically like babes. That night, the greatest astrologers of the ancient world literally saw stars, saw them for the first time as they are, rolling round heaven to a toddler's tune. These men who had come to pray ended in play. They came to give gifts, but ended by leaving what they had always longed to get rid of: starched collars, phony crowns, jaded adult wisdom. The wise men were turned into wise guys, jokers. They became fools, fools for Christ. Where is the wise man of this age? Where are the scholar and the philosopher? Has not God made foolish the wisdom of the world?
If you're not sure what to bring to the freshborn King, or if your gifts will only prove to herald lesser things, or if a gift you cannot find, take it as a holy sign. Nothing is required of you, nothing but your all. So bring your best, but bring your least. Bring your gold and your straying beast, who knows the ways of wandering and fights your every move. Pocket fine as frankincense in familiar vestments, frayed by sorrow and regret, buttoned to the chin. Have seen the visions, but you will find the signs. Just face the never-ending darkness and wait for stars to shine. Let the brightest glimmer guide you. When hope arrives, let it inside you and follow where it leads you through deserts plagued by doubt. So bring your spoils and bring your sword. Bring the bitterness you hoard. Bring the charred and splintered wood from bridges that you burn. Leave the myrrh beside his feet. Leave the snares that have you beat. Lay them down among the smells of barnyard refugees. Loose the beast you came with and let it lick his feet.
Thanks, Jared. That was Jared Martens singing a song written by Alan Desnoyers called The Gifts of the Magi. Of course, it's one of my favorite pieces, and it's just lovely. So that brings Christmas Presents 2020 to a close. It's a delight that you joined us, and we really want to extend our gratitude to those of you who tuned in tonight. It's been fun to do, and we hope that you enjoyed yourself. We hope that you laughed. We hope that maybe you cried, and that you had a good time and that your hearts were warmed. So we want to thank all of you for not only listening and watching, but to all those who have contributed to Christmas Presents 2020. You're the ones who made this possible, so thank you, each one. We especially, of course, want to thank our guests from Corner Brook, Ken Jacobsen, and from Cambridge, Malcolm Guite. Thank you again for contributing this evening. It's been a real gift to us. And lastly, I want to thank those who bring this together technically, the filmmakers, the people behind the camera. And I actually want to have a little shout out to Corner Brook again, to Nancy Jacobsen, who kept up, especially with Ken going up and down those stone steps for Dominic the donkey. But most of all, I want to thank our very own Jeremy Ratzlaff. Just an excellent guy, a superb filmmaker, and a dear friend. Thanks, Jeremy. You're the best. All right. Have a blessed Advent and a very Merry Christmas. From our home to your home. God bless and good night.